Sir Isaac Newton, born in 1643, may be the greatest scientist who ever lived.
He was an absolute phenomenon, Newton was. In a sense, unequaled in his scope and in his creation.
Newton conceived of a formula, a law of motion, that described how the mysterious attractive force that affects all matter in the universe works. Copernicus proposed a sun-centered universe. Galileo observed it in his telescope. But Newton explained the clockworks that put it all in motion. He called it gravity.
Newton believed that the universe was a clock, a gigantic clock, a machine that God wound up at the beginning of time and has been ticking ever since due to his laws of motion.
Newton's gravity offered a single explanation for two seemingly unrelated phenomena. Kepler had years before observed the strange hold the sun seemed to have on the planets that encircled it. They sped up the closer they came to the sun. Galileo had demonstrated that on Earth, falling bodies, no matter what their mass, always fall at the same rate.
The great insight Newton had was to bring Galileo and Kepler together and to realize that the things that make projectiles move and fall on Earth is the same thing that makes the planets go around the sun in the skies.
This revolutionary insight reportedly occurred to Newton during an innocent stroll through his estate in early evening.
He saw an apple fall, and then he saw the moon, and then he asked the key question: if an apple falls to the earth, does the moon also fall? And then, in a flash of insight, Newton realized that the moon is falling around the earth. The same forces that govern an apple govern the moon. The moon is in free fall. The moon is in free fall around the earth. The earth is in free fall around the sun. So Newton showed that even the universe is subject to the same laws that make an apple fall.
Newton's laws explained almost everything. Newton's laws were the fundamental language of the universe. And so physics really began with Isaac Newton.
In his great book, The Principia, he uses observation and mathematical formulae to predict the orderly phenomena of nature, including gravity. Newton saw gravity like a tether invisibly connecting objects. But what it doesn't do, what Newton never did, was explain what gravity actually was.
He himself was troubled by the fact that he didn't know how the influence was traveling from one object to another. There's no rope between them. There's no hand reaching out from one to the other. So how is it that, say, the sun is affecting the motion of the earth? How does gravity get the job done? And he said, I don't know.
Newton was also, despite his genius, something of a crackpot.
He was as much magician as he was scientist. He spent his time with alchemy. He spent his time predicting the end of the world, which he thought would be in 1940. He was a heretic of sorts, and he was busy working on his own religion.
Now, Newton was a real complicated personality as well. Right? As far as we know, he died a virgin, and he really was not a very social animal, quite the opposite. He really did not like to have many social interactions. In fact, he spent much more time playing with alchemy and with the Bible and interpretation of the Bible than he did with physics. I kind of always joke that thanks God, otherwise he would have finished the whole of physics by himself in the 1600s. It would be nothing for us to do.
Newton may not have been the life of the party, but his laws of motion worked. They did then, and they do now, and they will 1 billion years from now.